Well, the countdown is on. 12 days until Super Bowl XLVIII. The Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks, the number one seed in the AFC, the number one seed in the NFC, the best offense in the NFL, the best defense in the NFL. It should be good. Denver, a 1.5-point favorite on BETDAQ. 47.5 is the total in this game. We've got plenty of time to analyze and overanalyze this game. We'll be doing some of both here on BETDAQ NFL, so we do hope you check back with us over the next 12 days. Did want to talk about some first impressions now, though. You've probably heard the opening line story by now. If you haven't, I'll fill you in. At the Superbook out in Las Vegas, the Superbook is housed in the Las Vegas Hotel, formerly the Las Vegas Hilton. They're generally the first book that releases NFL lines. They released Seattle as a 2-point favorite on Sunday evening, and then the Denver money just poured in. The game quickly went to pick and then went to Denver minus 1.5, which is where it sits now at the Superbook. Broncos can be found at -2 and -2.5 other places around Las Vegas. Again, BETDAQ has Denver installed as a 1.5-point favorite. So we did see an early rush of Denver money. Maybe that shouldn't be surprising, considering on Sunday Denver dominated the New England Patriots while Seattle went down to the wire with the San Francisco 49ers. So people eager to back the Broncos after they just saw them really control that game against New England. However, now's when we talk about the weather. And look, if you think you're sick of hearing about the weather now, just wait for another 10 or 12 days, because people are just going to be pounding on this same topic, the weather, how it's going to affect both teams, because quite frankly, it should be talked about. This is an outdoor Super Bowl in northern New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey. A cold weather Super Bowl. I, for one, do not think this is a good idea, because I think the goal of a Super Bowl should be determining the best team, not the best team in inclement weather. And I realize football is a game that's played in all conditions, but it seems to me that, look, in a controlled conditions, in a dome or outdoors in Miami, especially in a dome, because I guess you could say that rain or something like that or high winds could affect it if it's outdoors someplace. But in controlled conditions, then we really get to see the best of both teams. And in this case, I'm not sure that's going to be what we see, because we are expecting sub-freezing temperatures. Now, still too far out to get an accurate weather forecast. We're still 12 days out, but when you look at the 10-day forecast, it predicts highs in the 20s throughout the next 10 days in that area of New Jersey. 20s, of course, Fahrenheit, so that is sub-freezing. So look, Peyton Manning, this is a guy who throughout his career, and it's been well documented, this guy struggled in cold weather. When the kickoff temperature has been freezing or below, 32 degrees or below, Peyton Manning's career record is 4-7. He's a guy who grew up in Louisiana, played his college ball at Tennessee. Now, Tennessee might not be Florida, but you don't get too many sub-freezing days at Neyland Stadium. And then, of course, he played the majority of his professional career in Indianapolis. The Colts play in a dome. So Peyton Manning doesn't have a whole lot of experience playing in cold weather. As we said, throughout his NFL career, he's only played 11 games where the temperature has been 32 degrees or colder at kickoff, and he is 4-7 in those games. So he doesn't have a whole lot of experience. And hey, it's harder. It's harder to pass the ball in cold conditions. Anybody who's ever played catch with a football in really cold weather knows that it's just harder to throw a football and harder to catch a football when the temperature is really, really cold. So maybe it shouldn't come as a surprise that Peyton Manning's teams have not fared well in cold weather, because most of Manning's teams have been pass-first teams. And throughout his time in Indianapolis, he usually did not have really good defenses supporting him. So most of his Colts teams were pretty much like this year's Denver teams. Really good offenses, really good pass-first offenses, and defenses that were not so good. And so again, Peyton Manning's Indianapolis teams did not fare well in cold weather. And here again, he has a very similar type team in Denver. The Broncos, a great offense, a historic offense. They scored more points this season than any team in NFL history, but they are a pass-first offense. They lead the NFL in passing offense at over 340 yards per game. They do run the ball pretty well, but not great. 15th in the NFL in rush yards per game. Listen, if the passing game is taken away from the Broncos, or even severely limited, then they are a different team. The Seattle Seahawks, of course, they lead the NFL in yards allowed, points allowed, and passing defense. When you combine what's likely to be sub-freezing temperatures, I think it's going to be really tough for the Denver Broncos to do what they do in this game. Should be noted, though, the Denver defense has played better over the last few weeks, and the Seattle offense has not played as well. Over the last 4 regular season games, the Seahawks averaged just 18.2 points per game. Then in their divisional round playoff game against New Orleans, they gained just 277 total yards. They did a little bit better against the San Francisco 49ers, but hey, if you watch that game, you know the San Francisco defense dominated the action throughout most of the game. So Seattle has not been playing as well on the offensive side of the ball. Denver's been playing a little bit better on defense over the last few weeks. So maybe, even if Seattle does have a lot of success against the Denver offense, Denver might be able to win a low-scoring game. You never know. Hey, certainly the cold temperatures are going to affect the Seattle offense as well, even though the Seahawks should be better built for the cold weather than the Denver Broncos. The Seahawks are the team that runs the ball better. The Seahawks are the team that is better on the defensive side of the ball. And in really nasty weather, especially if we see some precipitation, if there's snow or sleet, freezing rain, you're going to want to run the football. You're going to want to play defense, obviously stop the run, and Seattle can do all those things better than Denver can do. That's why it wouldn't surprise me if we see this line move closer to pick as the game approaches. Of course, weathermen, I mean, they get it wrong just a day before, 2 days before. So asking a weatherman to correctly predict the forecast a week before or 10 days before is a foolish thing to do. And so again, it's still too far off now, but temperatures in the 20s, the mid to high 20s throughout the next 10 days, that's what they're expecting in northern New Jersey. So again, right now, 12 days out, we can say that freezing temperatures, it's reasonable to expect freezing temperatures for this game. I do think that clearly favors the Seattle Seahawks. I do think that's why we're going to see this line maybe move in the Seattle direction. I'd be very surprised if it gets to Denver -3 for very long, anywhere, at any time, at any sports book around the world. I just think we've seen just about as much Denver support as we're going to see. I expect it to slowly drift back in the Seattle direction, and it might quickly drift back in the Seattle direction if we do get reports of a winter storm. If in a week we hear that snow or freezing rain is expected for this game, I think then we're going to see a lot of Seattle support. And hey, I do lean towards the Seahawks here. Now, I realize that Denver does have the better quarterback, and it's tough to bet against a team with the better quarterback. However, passing the football is the only thing the Denver Broncos do better than the Seattle Seahawks. You look at the defenses, Seattle is better against the run. They're much better against the pass. Denver, 27th against the pass this season. And you look at the offenses. Seattle Seahawks, a top 5 running game led by Marshawn Lynch. They were 4th in the league in rush yards per game this season. Denver, as we said, 15th in rush yards per game. So Seattle, clear edge in the running game. Now, Denver has an edge and a big edge in the passing game. Peyton Manning throwing for over 340 yards per game this year. As we said, Denver broke the NFL record for most points scored in a season. So this Bronco offense, otherworldly. And if this game were where it should be in controlled temperatures, if this game were being played in the Superdome in New Orleans or in any dome anywhere, or in Phoenix or in Miami, I would say Denver would and should be maybe a 3.5 point, 4 point favorite here, because their offense is just so good. And as we said, Seattle has been struggling on offense throughout the last 6 weeks. But this game is not in a controlled atmosphere, controlled temperature. This is a cold weather Super Bowl. The NFL chasing the money at the expense, I think, of competitive fairness. And so I do think we should lean towards the Seattle Seahawks, a team better equipped for the bad weather. Now, look, I reserve the right to change my mind. I am open-minded, and as you know, if you've followed what we've done over BETDAQ NFL over the last couple of years, what we've done on BETDAQ NFL over the last couple of years, that is, I frequently change my mind in these games, sometimes to my detriment. I do get involved in some over-analyzation. Sometimes I talk myself out of some good ideas or talk myself into some bad ideas. Hopefully that does not happen with this 2 weeks, I guess. I was about to say with this week. As of now, I do lean towards the Seattle Seahawks. I have not placed any bets on the game myself. Again, I am open-minded. I reserve the right to change my mind. In 10 days, I could be singing a different tune saying, you know, I think Denver and Peyton Manning, I think they're going to get it done. Hey, if we see the weather is going to be 40 degrees and calm, I might be saying that. I would look very hard at the Denver side. But again, if the weather is going to be nasty, which as of now I think it will be, I think that really favors the Seattle Seahawks, so I do have a Seattle lean here. But as I said, we'll be covering this game from every angle over the next 12 days here at BETDAQ NFL. So I hope you continue to check back with us. And get to me, either John at BETDAQ NFL, that's my email address, or Twitter at BETDAQ NFL, and let me know what you think is going to happen Super Bowl 48. Be interested to hear some feedback. People around the Twitter sphere, or the Twitter sphere, is that a word there? Or if you're not involved in Twitter, again, I can be reached at email, John at BETDAQ NFL. Let me know what you think is going to happen with the game here. So again, until then, for BETDAQ NFL, I'm John Arnette. We've ruined the ending here, but hey, it's a 10.5-minute recording. We're not going to go back and re-record just because I stumbled over the ending, just like I so often do. We record these long videos. So hey, until we get you some more video, I'm John Arnette for BETDAQ NFL. I'm going to stop recording now before this gets any worse. Enjoy the next 12 days of analyzation and over-analyzation of Super Bowl 48.